We are back on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio News Talk 1180, 1230 KGEO, and 1410 KERI. We're syndicated, Clay.
3 stations, and I'm still awake.
Hey, listen, yeah, well, that's because we've got exciting guests.
Yes.
But, 6 months ago, you and I couldn't spell syndicated. Now we is syndicated.
I still can't spell it. Mark, I want to ask you a question. There's a new guy on the block that I went and listened to him speak one time, and Marty and I were there at the event, and we said, man, that guy's got something going for himself. And he is really an unknown, but he came up and he won. It's a guy named Mick Gleason. What can you tell us about Mick Gleason?
Well, Mick Gleason is a guy that a lot of people are going to get to know now in more over in the Bakersfield area. He is from Ridgecrest, and he's a Navy pilot. Of course, the important thing for everybody now is that he's running for county supervisor, and he was the top finisher in District 1, finishing ahead. There were 8 on that ballot. Roy Ashburn ran second. And so Mick Gleason now will be in a runoff in the fall with Roy Ashburn. Roy Boy.
Well, one thing I don't do is put retreads on my car. Why would I want to put a retread like Roy Ashburn in the supervisor position?
You wouldn't. And
especially after what he did in the state of California, where he changed his vote, he changed his whole position, said he'd go back and support all these issues that we're against here in Kern County. Now we want to elect him to this first supervisor position?
No, we don't.
Okay. Cathy, they did that well. It sounded like a good guy,
bad guy. He in a field of 8, running in the district that he had. People had voted for him there, I think, 7 times for supervisor, a number of times, and then for assembly, and then for state senate. So they've voted for him in that area. That is Ridgecrest, Inyo Kern, and on to the Kern River Valley, Lake Isabel in that area, on over to Delano and McFarland.
It's really name recognition is more than anything else.
He had
in an 8-person race. Then, if as I say, if Al Capone is running in that race, I think he would have come in first or second.
Probably.
So that's what happened now. Now that it's narrowed, because no candidate in an 8-person race can spend their money showing the opposition of each. So now that it's down 1-on-1, it'll come up again. It'll be out there for people. That's right. That Roy Ashburn switched his vote to vote for higher spending and taxes in the budget. That he was using a state vehicle at 2:00 in the morning and driving drunk in Sacramento when they sent him up there to be a legislator. That's what was going on. So those things the voters will be reminded. And I think we'll see a much different outcome.
I've always liked Roy as an individual, but I just don't like his politics, and I could not support him.
Well, and look at who he's running against. Look at Gleason. You've got he was in the Navy. I won't hold that against him, but a
fighter
Navy
pilot in Desert Storm.
Yes, commanding officer
commander
of the base
of China Lake. And if you just meet this guy, he is just so strong in his beliefs. So he's not going to bend because someone says something nice or someone hands him a campaign contribution. He knows the right things to do, and he's very fed up with government continuing the same old path. And
very dynamic
he's not
guy.
But he's got a leadership ability that I think it'll be great.
So are the unions going to come in and fight him and support Roy, do you think?
Expect the unions to come in and try to back Roy. Yeah. It may be difficult for them.
They have a history of losing. So
to go up to a voter and try to convince that voter to vote for Roy because he might support the union, that's going to be a hard sell, isn't it?
I would think so.
Yeah, I think so. And
sure.
And Mick Gleason's not just in the Navy. Was in the Navy. He was a fighter pilot. Flying off of carriers into Iraq and Kuwait and
combat situations.
Desert Storm.
Yeah.
He was one of the first wave of fighter pilots went in flying the intruders into the Desert Storm operation. Everybody doesn't do that.
Sure.
I like the way he described it to me, being in the cockpit, and then he was telling me the noise of everything that's coming at you, and all this, and then he was comparing it to the campaign and the kind of stuff going on, and he said, "I thought that was bad." He said, he said, "There's just so many different players shooting at you all the time."
Sure.
He's used to 7 or 8, but not 108. But
yeah.
So
our in-studio guests, Mark and Cathy Abernathy. But Cathy, you mentioned the word that sticks when I think of Mick Gleason: leadership. And we desperately need leadership. Shannon Grove, Gene, they're both leaders. We need that kind of leadership in Sacramento desperately.
What happens when so many people, good people, get elected to public office, then they get in the venue of the state legislature or the county board of supervisors or the city council, and in time they're seeing, gee, when I say no, when I really say what I feel, the paper puts an ugly headline out like I'm trying to hurt grandmas, when I'm trying to limit the bureaucracy. And then people are getting mad at me every day. They're in my office asking for more, and look what you did, and here's some anecdote. They legislate by anecdote. And so then they back off.
Well, they're surrounded there by all the people that are sucking off the system. Mm-hmm. Everybody there is on the payroll. Everybody there wants raises for all the staff and all the department heads, and everybody wants a raise. Everybody wants higher pensions, and you're surrounded by those people. There is not. There's no representative of the taxpayer in there all day long. Say in the Capitol in Sacramento, it's a rat's nest that you have to deal with all day long, and just pounding on you, and you want to make some friends. Oh, I just want to have a friend in this place, and so I'm going to vote for this tax increase. I'm going to vote for the pay raise because then everybody will be my friend. I'll get to go play golf with these people once in a while. And who was it? Somebody, a wise man, that said, if you're in politics, I think he was talking about the capital of Washington. He said, if you want a friend around here, get a dog.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I think that was Eisenhower, or Truman.
If you saw the appointment request for these state legislators, it make you cry. I mean, it's one after another of either a state agency coming in to protect their turf or to get more, or some nonprofit that only exists because the government gives it money from profit-making businesses, gives it money, and they're coming in, and they come in and they always say we're bringing a constituent in, and they'll drag some constituent from the district up there in a meeting. Now, a Shannon Grove, when I worked for Bill Thomas, Bill Thomas will still say it like it is. But most of them say, gee, I don't want to be negative here. I got a constituent. They want money to save leopards. What do I do? And they just cave. They get weaker and weaker. And I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat. It's because they're up there too much, which is why we're so supportive of part-time legislature. Sure. They live with the people that live off the taxpayer.
Sleeping with the enemy.
Yes. We've got an initiative coming up on the next election to eliminate unions and corporations from making donations to political candidates. Do you have any thoughts on that? Have you heard about
absolutely. That? It ought to be. It used to be against the law at the time when America was growing and thriving. It was against the law. The public employees, the Hatch Act kept public employees not to be participating in trying to elect their boss.
Well, they had the right to vote, but not in the pooling of money under the organization of the employees.
We learned that AT&T donates about $9,000 a day. I think it is.
$14,000 a day.
$14,000 a day to candidates, which is a lot of money. So if we don't want to just stop the unions from putting their agenda in place, we want to stop large corporations from putting their agenda in place also.
Yeah. Just as bad.
Yeah. This will come up on the November ballot.
Right.
It's going to have various nicknames. One is paycheck protection. That really reflects more on the public employee unions. That right now, they take those political dues out of the check before the employee has the time to say wait. And then if the employee does say wait, then everybody comes down on them and threatens their job. In this case, though, it'll be different. It'll be a voluntary. And I'll tell you, teachers are paying $900 a year to these political dues.
Amazing.
And you tell me when a teacher, I would think, has a choice of keeping $900 or having their dues go to things they don't support. For example, when the teachers union was supporting same-sex marriage, using their dues on issues they disagree with, you're going to see a real change, a real drop in their willingness to contribute. Or the unions are going to have to change who they contribute to.
Now, another thing, another race that we wanted to talk about was the race involving Rudy Salas and Pedro Rios.
That's a state assembly race. It affects about 40% of that district's in Kern County. And it's, again, Delano, Wasco, Shafter, hooks down into Arvin, Lamont, comes back up into Bakersfield. Kind of a fish hook kind of thing.
There's downtown, East Bakersfield, all that area is in it. Yeah.
And David Valdeo's been the assemblyman. He's now running for Congress, so it's an open seat. It's been redrawn, so it's a little bit higher in Democratic registration. But that race, Rudy Salas, it's fresh off the city council a year after being elected, is
fresh
running.
on the city council.
No, but I mean, he's trying to be fresh off. He's
be
trying to
fresh
win and
off.
get out
Sure.
real fast and move up the ladder. And then we have Pedro Rios, Hispanic, from Delano, conservative, Republican. Just a heartwarming story of his life and his belief in America, and what is so bad about what life in Mexico is like, to contrast with those. There are state legislators that Pedro Rios will notice when he gets to Sacramento, whose agenda is to combine California with Mexico. Mm-hmm. So the professional Hispanic Democrat liberal movement in California is all about taking and actually putting it back with Mexico. I mean, that's either take money from the taxpayers in California and hook us back with Mexico. There's actually 9 legislators with that agenda.
Scary. We'll be back in a moment on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk 1180, 1230 KGEO, and 1410 KERI.